So welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and a game of Black Powder Napoleonics 28mm. I've laid out the table using the 8x6 foot configuration, and I've for the first time got my Dutch-Belgian brigade on the table, waiting in what might look a little bit like Hougoumont, for a big French attack to come down the road. So the scenario is this: the Prince of Orange, not the Duke as I said in the short, has rushed forward with a brigade, a reinforced brigade of infantry, artillery and a unit of cavalry to secure this crucial farmstead here, which guards the crossing over the river here. They know the French are in the area. They've sent for support, so there is a British division or brigade on the way to help them, but for the moment they're on their own. So what have we got? We've got, well, let's start in the compound itself. Compound, or the oh, sorry, just box fell over. I'm playing the farm as 3 strong points. So it's going to be split into 3 areas. There's the front section, the back section, and then this big old barn. Each will be defensible. Each can hold up to 1 unit. And then the normal sort of building rules apply, or fortified buildings apply. So I'm going to say that all the buildings and walls have been loopholed and are prepared for defence. Even though there aren't that many windows and such within the buildings themselves. It's a hobble Hougoumont set, which I've never actually deployed in totality. I've only used bits and bobs of it because there's rarely an occasion to use the whole thing, and it's a really nice model. That barn is enormous. So anyway, you've got a battalion of Dutch-Belgian chasseurs who are in the front there, in the front section. They are sharpshooters and also have the ability to skirmish. In the great barn is a standard unit of Belgian infantry, so they just are like normal standard infantry. In the second half is a large unit of freshly raised militia, Dutch-Belgian militia. Out here on the flank, or I guess the flank, guarding a small ford, is a small unit of chasseurs. Again, they are sharpshooter and skirmish. There's a battery of, which way around is it? Those are the horse guns out here on the flank. So a small battery, or just a normal battery of horse guns. To their flank is a battalion of Dutch-Belgian infantry. There's a unit of Dutch-Belgian cavalry, they are light dragoons, and another unit of infantry and a foot battery. So in terms of terrain, out here on the left side, it's marshy, so it's slow movement. The river is only fordable for artillery at the ford or the bridge, nowhere else. And anything crossing the river apart from at those crossing points is going to be slowed. You've got a small wood out there on the left flank for the French. The individual trees are just individual trees for a fact, they don't actually do anything. Let's see, we've got this is a sort of an orchard, so it blocks line of sight, but otherwise sort of treated as light cover. You've got an orchard, got a vineyard here on the side with a stone wall all the way around it, so that'll just disrupt movement through it and provide cover if you're up against the walls. You've got some various hills around here. The lanes are all hedged. There's a manor house here on the hill with some stone walls around it. This flank is almost entirely wooded, running all the way down, and then there's another hill at the back there where the battery is on. So obviously the Dutch Belgians are deployed and waiting. Their CNC, the Prince of Orange is at the back there. They've also got a brigade commander in the built-up area. So the French are going to come on along this base. They can only deploy between the river and the corner there initially. We'll play it out. So I'll be back when the French have appeared, and then I'll talk you through what their forces are. Right then, the French have arrived. Well, some of them anyway. First two brigades have arrived on table, and because I'm playing, even though I'm playing on an 8x6 table here, in Black Powder everything moves 12 inches. Infantry moves 12 inches, which is a blinking long way when you're getting multiple moves. So I'm saying that basically the French are starting one whole turn off the table. So obviously that means they need two moves to get onto the table, 12 inches. So just gives a little bit more time. Now in practicality, because most of the French infantry have pas de charge and are in the assault column, they get +2 on their rolls anyway, which means they're very unlikely to get anything fail, really. That said, we'll come to that in a minute. So basically we'll take it from the top. The 1st Brigade came on. It's just 5 battalions of line infantry here. They managed to get 3 turns off, so they have come on 24 inches and are facing off against the chasseurs in the marshland over there. Their battery also got 3 moves. Had to dice for that separately because it wasn't going the same way, but still managed to get 3 moves. Unfortunately 2 put it at the back of the hill, so it needed 3 to get up, which meant it had nothing left to unlimber this turn. So that is that. So the other brigade is the 2nd Brigade here. Not so much success here, so mainly because of I was a bit of a fool. So they headed out with a small group of a small battalion of voltigeurs out front, or in skirmish, in truest traditions of French. The entire column got 3 moves, so the skirmishers rushed up ahead. These guys, these 2 battalions following, are in march column, so they'll need to shake out or they'll get in real kinds of trouble. Now, where I made a slight mistake, there's 2 more battalions in this brigade. I should have moved them first, because again with their pas de charge they should be able to do it, but I didn't. I tried to move the gun and bring it up onto the hill here. First up it rolled a 12, and then with the commander's CNC re-roll, it re-rolled and still rolled a 9. Bear in mind, they don't get the benefit of pas de charge. It meant it failed, didn't come on the table, which meant the 2 infantry battalions that were following it also couldn't come on. So they are 2 battalions and a battery down, the French, on their first attack. But we have got some shooting to do, so let's do that. So we'll start over here with the attack columns. They can only fire 1 shot each. And everything is in range, so we're going to get 3 dice. They are moving forward. It will be a 4 to hit, but the firing at skirmish target is a 5 to hit. Absolutely nothing. 2 4s and a 5. Sorry, 2 4s and a 1 even. So that's a failure. So no more hits there. The gun obviously can't because it's still limbered. So the next thing is going to be the skirmishing voltigeurs. They'll get 2 dice because they're a small unit, but they have got sharpshooter reroll, so they will fire straight ahead at the guys in the enclosure there. It's going to be 4s to hit, +1 because of obscured target. 2 3s, but they get 1 reroll because they're sharpshooter, and a 5 is a hit. So the defenders are going to get +2 for being in cover, and they save that, so no effect at all. So that's the end of the French turn 1. Yeah, they're on the table. That's all we can say. Okay, so for the Dutch-Belgians, no movement, unsurprisingly. I did think about bringing forward one of the infantry support columns, but in the end decided not to. They are trying to defend, obviously, so it kind of makes sense that they hold their ground for the moment. We are going to have some shooting, so let me see what we'll start with. We've got a cannon out the back there. I don't know whether he's got a view or even if he's in range. Let's have a look. 48 inches for a smooth bore cannon. It's in range. So let's have a look at that shot. I'm going to say no because the orchard, I said, blocked line of sight, so that is a no-go. Can't see the enemy to fire. I've just knocked all the terrain around as well. Silly. So no possibles there. However, there are some troops in this building here. They have loopholes out the side here, so bear in mind I'm treating each of these as separate built-up areas. I'm going to say that they can support the other chasseurs. So 2 shots outside onto the skirmishers in front of them is going to be 4s, 6s to hit. You only get 2 shots out of 5s to hit even. You only get 2 shots out of a side of a building, and double 1 will not do it. The chasseurs in the front here in this section, they will also fire onto the skirmishers. They are going to be hitting on a 4 up to a 5 because it's a skirmish target. They will get a re-roll because they are sharpshooters. They need it. 2 4s. No, and a 1. So no effects there. Over on the other flank, I don't know whether the cannons are in range. Maybe, because they've gone forward a lot further. Yeah, they have. So they will fire. I think they'll fire at the middle column. It's only a light battery, so it's a 36-inch range. Firing at long range is going to be hitting on a 5. So 3 is a failure. Moving along, the chasseurs in the swampy area, they'll get 2 dice firing at this column here. They will be hitting a I should have done, actually, thinking about it, the chasseurs here will fire on this closest column here. They get 2 dice and a re-roll because they're a small unit, hitting on a straight up 4. 2 6s, that's as good as it gets. The column would save on a 4 but gets +1. Gets +2 because they're in attack column, so comes down to a 2 to save. They take 1 loss, but they are disordered. So we'll mark those casualties up. And I think that's everything. So that's the end of turn 1. Be back with turn 2. Okay, so French turn 2 was altogether more successful. We started out here with this battalion that was in the centre, moved forward 1 move and went into line, effectively screening the disordered battalion. The other 2 battalions over there attempted to do 2 moves and then go into line. However, because they were slowed by the terrain and they only got 2 moves anyway, that's as far as they got. So they're in a column, sort of flanking almost onto those chasseurs, which is a bit uncomfortable. The other 3rd battalion moved up into support. The battery on the hill's just unlimbered. Over here in the centre, or centre left I guess we'll call it, the skirmishers that were in the middle of the road jumped over the hedge into the orchard, so they can start putting some support onto the buildings. The 2 battalions that were in columns, column of march, moved 1 forward and went into line. and then their tardy brethren who were still off table came up to got 3 moves effectively, but they're still in march column here. The guns also came on. They only got 2 moves, so they ended up there, limbered up. So that's the end of French movement. Next turn there'll be more reinforcements coming on for them, and we may start seeing the possibility of some Allied supports. We'll see. That has to be diced for. We'll start with some shooting, I think. So the voltigeurs here will fire at the chasseurs in the built-up area. It will be 5s to hit. They do get a reroll because they missed with both of those, and they missed again, so that's not great shooting. The French line can fire, gets 3 shots, hitting on 5, and also misses completely. Not so effective. Moving across the table. We'll come back to the cannon, I think, and we'll start with this line that will fire 3 shots straight at the chasseurs. We'll be getting -1 because they're skirmish targets, so 5s to hit. That's 1 hit and disorder. The chasseurs save on would be a 4, but goes to a 3 because they get cover. They save the thing, but they are shaken. Disordered. The column probably is it an angle? I suppose it is. 1 shot is in close range, but they are skirmish targets, so it's going to be a 4 to hit. Misses. Now, what to fire with these cannons here? They can choose to ignore the skirmishers because they're in skirmish target. However, they would get 2 dice at effective range. So they'd be hitting on a 4 up to a 5 because of skirmish target. At the moment they're not having to fire overhead. So I think we'll do that. We'll fire 2 shots at 5. Ooh, double 6. Double 6. So skirmish or any troops being hit by artillery at medium range is -2, I believe. -2. So they are going to be saving on, well, it would be 4. Down 2 makes it 2. But they get 1 back because they're in cover. So 3s to save. They get 1, so they take 1 loss, which is not great for them because they don't have an awful lot of cash. They don't have an awful lot of stamina, so they're disordered and have a casualty. Interesting. So I think that's pretty much it for the French turn 2. So we'll do the Dutch-Belgian turn 2. And I'll come back. Right, Dutch-Belgian turn. The Belgian infantry that were in column at the back there move forward and lining the wall of the orchard, just to try and put off anybody who decides to come around that side. The chasseurs, even though they're disordered, I believe, I've been playing this real faithfully, so correct me if I'm wrong. So disordered troops can't take an order. However, they can do an initiative move if they so wish, because it's not technically an order. So because it's not given, they don't have to receive an order to do it. It's an automatic thing, initiative. So they have decided to pull back to the back of the marsh. Because initiative you can move forward or back, you just can't dilly-dally. So they've basically just gone straight backwards. Will mean they will not lose the disorder. In the background there you can see the other Dutch-Belgian battalion that was in column moved forward and went into line. And just peeping around the corner you can see the light dragoons have come round to this flank. I think they're nervous about the sheer quantity of French flesh, so to speak, out here. So we've got some shooting to do. let's start with the cannon. They are actually in medium range. Oh no, that's a light gun. So it's long range because it's a horse gun. It's a light gun. It's one shot, hitting at long range is 5 to hit. Actually, does it get +1 for firing into a column? It does indeed. So it's +1 to hit. So it would have been a 4 up to a 5 because of long range, but back to a 4. Rolled a 4, so that's a hit. However, being artillery at long range, which this is only -1. The column gives you +1, so it's a straight up 4. They pass, so no effect. Can the... Whoa, not quite in range there, so that isn't allowed. We've got the disordered chasseurs. Now their closest target is now this column, so they'll fire 2 shots at that, needing would be 4s, but they're disordered 5s. Oh, 2 4s, but they do get a re-roll, and they get a 6 on the re-roll. So that disorders that column, which is unfortunate for the column. It saves on a 4 up to a 3. Passes, so that's just the disorder on that unit, which is slightly galling for them. And then moving across to the column, so moving across here, I don't think the voltigeurs, sorry, the line infantry here have got a range here. No, it's just outside range. However, the cannons can now see the voltigeurs. It is a long range shot, and it's an overhead and in cover and skirmish, so it's going to be a 6 to hit with just 1 dice, but they've got nothing else to fire at, so they might as well. Nothing. The defenders in the barn, they can ignore the voltigeurs, which I think they'll do, and they'll fire at the French line. Yeah, they'll fire at the French line. So that's a 4 to hit. Missed with both dice. The chasseurs firing straight forward, they get 2 dice again. You only get 2 dice when you're firing out of a built-up area, and they get a re-roll. So they are hitting on a 4. So they get 1 re-roll, gives them a 2nd. So that's 2 hits on those French line infantry, saving on a 4. They don't save either. That's 2 losses. Very unfortunate for them. But no disorder, which is kind of important here. So that is the end of the Dutch-Belgian turn 2. So we'll be back with turn 3. Right, so quite a lot happened in the French movement turn. So let's start what happened in the middle here. It's difficult to put the camera down without knocking figures over everywhere. So in the centre command, what happened? The battalion that was behind this one up against the walls moved out to the left, so we can get both firing in readiness for an assault. The gun battery that's here moved forward and unlimbered, so they're ready to fire. Not this turn because they've moved. And the 2 columns that were in column of march expanded out into assault columns, ready to go. Also, the general rallied off one of the casualties off that front battalion. So that was straightforward. Out here on the wing, a bit more messy. You remember there was a column that was disordered as it went over the ford by the shooting from the chasseurs. It withdrew back through its fallows, didn't disorder them, which was useful. Meanwhile, the two fresh battalions attempted to do a group charge onto the chasseurs. However, they only got one move, which meant they end up just basically where the other battalion had been, in column of attack. This line of infantry here advanced across the river in line. Again, only got one move, so slowed and everything else. And the remaining battalion is still disordered, but we might as well take that off now because it won't be firing, and the disorder comes off at the end of the turn. The big news for the French was obviously they've got reinforcements, and some. So coming on is almost an entire light guard, young guard brigade. So you've got where to start. These two columns moved in column of march down the road and over the bridge. You've got a young guard at the front. You've got a small unit of Marines of the Guard and some guard artillery behind, led by their general. Looks remarkably like Marshal Ney. And then here, two other battalions of young guard just went straight across the river in assault columns, led by a small battalion in skirmish order of also young guard. So that's quite a powerful force. And then over here, just into the gap at the back, only got one move on, but that's all they really needed for the moment, is two regiments of French dragoons. So that is all the movement for the French. We'll get on to some shooting, shall we? Try and put the camera down where I don't knock everything over. First up, we'll fire the skirmisher voltigeurs there in the orchard. We'll fire onto the walls. They get two shots with a reroll, hitting on a 5. They get 1 and a reroll, 2 hits. The defenders are in hard cover, so they get +2 on the saves. So they need 2s. They get them both, so no casualties there. This line will fire another volley. 3 shots, needing 5s to hit. 1 hit, only a 5 again. Lots of 5s being rolled. Saving for the guys inside, they pass. The fresh battalion that's moved out will also fire 3 shots. They will need 5s as well. They get 1/6. So finally they disordered the defenders, and did not cause a casualty though. So they have actually disordered the defenders. I'll put that there so it's difficult to see from here what's going on in the fort. What else we got over on this brigade? The artillery. This artillery can't fire because it's just moved up and unlimbered. So I think we're going to move over to here. So let's start with the line that moved across the river. We'll fire at the chasseurs who are in the cover there. They will need 5s to hit. Yeah, that's 1 hit. It's a disordering hit as well. They save on a 3 because they get light cover, but they save it, but they stay disordered. Well, they're disordered anyway. And then we've got 1 dice of column fire here. Will be hitting on 5 as well, which misses. The artillery, who are under the gun here, I think they're going to fire at the built-up area. We need to try and put some fire on those, on the Hougoumont model, definitely. So they're going to fire at the chasseurs at the front. It is effective range, I think. Let me just double check that. Yeah, definitely effective range. So it's 2 shots, needing 5s to hit because it's an obscured target. Get 1/6, that's another disorder on the guys inside. They're already disordered, so it kind of is irrelevant. And now the saving roll basically cancels out the cover because they get +2 for the cover, but artillery at medium range is -2. so they're saving on 4. So they take a casualty. So there's first casualty on the chasseurs inside the barns. So I'll put the marker there so I remember it. And I think that's everything for the French turn 3. So they're starting to soften up the guys in the buildings, and large, very effective force has suddenly arrived on the table. So we'll see what happens. Let's go with the Allied turn. Right, come over to the Allied side of the table. Not much happened, to be honest. The only thing was the cavalry were ordered to basically move up and form up in front of the guns, below the guns, I guess. So go into, because they were in the column of march, to go into sort of a regular column line formation and then move forward, but they only got one move, so all they did was snap into the, well, basically out of a column of march, which is useful. I debated what to do with the chasseurs in the marshland there. I was debating whether just to do an initiative move away, because they're going to get charged or at least shot to pieces at some point. But in the end, I thought that the trouble is they're not going to get very far. Well, they could still do it. Do you know what? They are going to do that. I'm changing my mind. They are going to do an initiative move, because although they're disordered troops that can't take orders, but they can do initiatives. So they're going to do initiative straight away, and they're going to come all the way back to here. Just to get out of dodge. I think otherwise they're just going to get killed. They'll probably still get killed, but at least this way they've got a fighting chance. So they're pulled right the way back out the marsh with their one casualty and their disorder, and they'll stay there. So yeah, I think that's probably a better bet. It does partially block the line that have come round, but I think that's fine. In fact, I could order them just to move slightly to their right. No, because then they're going to block the gun. We'll stay where they are. Okay, the big thing that happened on this side of the table was British reinforcements arrived. So you've got the Derbyshire regiment led out by a certain green so-and-so regiment, led by, don't know who that's supposed to be. So a small unit of 95th in front, Derbyshire's behind, and then you've got the Cameron and the Black Watch coming down the road, and the a battery of light horse guns. So the way I played that, I said that there was a this time they had a 5 or 6 chance to arrive. They rolled a 6, and then like the French, they were 1 turn off the table. So they needed 2 to get onto the table, if you see what I mean. But they managed to roll 3 moves, so that's where they've come. They've come on a big strung out column of march. This regiment is still off the table, sort of hanging there, so not in the woods as it depicts. So that is it. So we've got some shooting to do, I guess. Start over this side since I'm over here. The cannon. Can I actually see anything again? Can't really see. Got a 48-inch range. Let's see how far it can go out to. It's going to fire in that far column over there, because it can't see that column there because it's behind the orchard. If it fired at the guys in the skirmishers, it's not going to have much chance, whereas it's got a slight chance against the column. So I think it probably that on their skirmishers in front of them as well, isn't there? Okay, it's going to have to fire at the skirmishers in the wood there in the orchard. It's going to be 1 dice hitting on a 6. 1. The guys here, just outside of range, I think. Yeah, just outside of range, which is annoying for them. We've got the 2 shots from the large barn. We'll fire at the line in front of the farm. So it'll be 2 shots needing 4s. 3 and a 2 is nothing. The chasseurs in front will fire straight into the line in front of them. They are disordered, but they get a re-roll because they're sharpshooters. They hit with a 5 and their re-roll misses. So it's 1 hit on the French. They save it though, so no effect at all from here. So the chasseurs that fell back, I think they're going to fire at this line here. They only get 2 shots. They are disordered, so it's 5s to hit. It's a 6, and they do get a re-roll. So 2 hits on that French line will disorder it. They save 1 but lose 1. And then the line here will fire at the column. I think because they're partially obscured by their own troops, I think we'll count it as obscured. So 3 shots needing 5s. Nothing at all. And the cannon, this light cannon below me, will fire. It's only going to get 1 dice because it's long range. We'll be firing at a column, gives them +2. So firing at the column coming over the river is +1 for firing at a column, and long range halves it out, so it's 4s. Oh, hits with a 6, another disordering hit. Saving roll will be at -1, but it gets +1 because it's an attack column. Means it saves it, but it is disordered. So, a few disorders affecting the French, but not many casualties. We'll return with the French turn. Okay, so turn 4 for the Frenchies. Interesting one. Didn't go quite how it's planned here on the left. Remember, we had the brigade, or the battalion that was crossing the river, was disordered by the fire from the chasseurs. The battalion that was behind basically had orders to try and come over and charge the chasseurs, but it only got 1 move. Oops, sorry, the camera's sleeping. Only got 1 move, so basically it leapfrogged ahead. Luckily it wasn't disordered by interpenetration, so that is fine. I'll take off that marker because it doesn't apply anymore. This unit's not going to fire anyway. The other battalion that was over here, previously taking casualties, moved across, and the 3rd battalion here is still disordered, so that can't do anything this go, but I'll remove the marker just now. The line that was in the river here hasn't moved at all because it tried to move forward up to the edge of the marshland there, but failed. Doesn't get all the benefits of being in column, of course, anymore, so just refused to move. So it sat right where it was, which is a bit of a bummer for the French, but hey, those are the breaks. So over here, however, a little bit more action. You can see we've been joined by a certain individual. He was already on the table, but I didn't show him last time. What happened over here? Well, first of all, obviously this battalion couldn't do anything because it's disordered. The other battalion that was lined across here formed into column, and the 2 behind it charged straight into the built-up area. So we've got to melee this go. It's going to be a bit of a fight going on there. I'll do the closing fire as it happens. So we've got 2 shots from the chasseurs firing on the column coming in. They are disordered, but it is closing fire, so they will be hitting on 4s. They do absolutely nothing, but they get 1 reroll, and they get nothing with that either. 3 2s rolled. Brilliant. Also, the cavalry here have basically turned to their right, but they were going to head off onto the left, onto the right flank, but they only got one move, so all they did was turn. Because there really isn't anything for, although the Allied cavalry are over there, there isn't really much for them to do because it's just too busy on this side of the table. So moving across, oops, just knocked over a tree. Moving across, starting the voltigeurs that are hidden in the orchard here. I ordered them to move up to the wall of the vineyard, but they failed, so nothing happening there. Bit more successful with the guard, or the young guard. The columns of march that were coming down the road moved forward 2 moves and then expanded into column of attack. So that's these two, that's the young guard in front, the Marines of the guard behind, and the battery just followed on behind. The skirmishers that were coming over the river basically moved across that way. They're a bit slowed down by all the bocage and everything, and also they're not in columns, so they don't get the movement benefits, which is a bit of a shame. And the other 2 battalions that were in assault columns basically moved up onto the right flank. So basically they're trying to deal with the British that are coming down the road, and also potentially attack the farm from the other angle. So we've got a bit of shooting to do. I don't think these are going to be in range myself. No, they're not. So we'll fire the voltigeurs here. We'll fire onto the big barn. They can't fire onto what they were firing last turn because that is a melee now. So they'll get 2 shots with a re-roll, firing at obscured targets, so needing 5s. Nothing there. Oops. And they re-roll. Nothing at all. So no joy with them. The artillery. Having unlimbered the artillery, they can't actually fire because there's now a melee. So the artillery can't fire into the built-up area anymore because there's a melee going on. So I think what they're going to do is concentrate their fire on these chasseurs here, just beyond medium range for both the batteries. So they'll both fire 1 shot at each, firing overhead and at skirmish targets, 6s to hit. They get 1 hit. So the chasseurs are saving on a 4, goes down to a goes up to a 5 because they are being hit by artillery at long range. They roll a 6, so they actually saved, but they are disordered again. They're constantly being disordered, those boys. So that is that. This line, I think we're going to allow 2 shots onto the skirmishers, even though disordered. So it's going to be 6s to hit because half the unit's obscured. Nope, nothing doing there. The French line here will have to fire at the skirmishers as well. It's going to be 3 shots hitting at 5 because it's a skirmish target. They get 1 hit there. So the chasseurs are saving on a 4, which they do not get. So they are probably shaken. No probably about it, they are shaken because they're only a small unit and they can only take 2 casualties. So that's that. And then the column here will also try and put the pressure on them, firing 1 shot, needing a 5 to hit. Misses this time. So I think that's it. We'll come back for the combats. Right then, so we've got a combat here. We've got 6 dice worth of French attacking the built-up area. Oops. So the French are going to be needing a 3 to hit, and the chasseurs defending are hitting on 5 because they are disordered. So 3s to hit for the, so basically all bar 1 of the French hit, just 1 of the defenders hit. So defensive So let's see where the French save with theirs. They get +1 because they're intact column, so they're saving on a 3, which they roll. So they suffer no losses. The French inflicted 5 losses on the chasseurs. They are saving on a 2 because they're in a built-up area. And fair enough, they save everything too. So, no losses either side. The building gives the defenders +2 anyway on the result, so it's 2 up at the moment for the chasseurs. However, the French are supported twice as well. They can't be supported by the skirmishers, so that ends up being a draw. So it stays as a draw. So that is the upshot. No casualties on either side, but a draw. Oh well. So back with the Allied turn 4, I guess. Right, so back on the Allied flank. What happened? First of all, the chasseurs that were up here, shaken, disordered, did a disorderly retreat. So they pulled back behind their line here. They're still therefore shaken and disordered. Nothing anyone can do about that for the moment. To cover them, the Belgian light dragoons initiated a charge at the column. They failed the first time, but luckily the Prince of Orange is just there and the commander is just there. So he took a re-roll, got 3 turns and has charged at the column. Now I've moved them just to within a few inches of the column because I'm just deciding what to do with the Frenchies. They could go square. It's pretty much guaranteed they go square. It's basically just anything but double 6 on 2 dice. However, if they do, the cavalry won't charge home and it'll stop right there, which will block up the infantry. Now, if they stay in column, they've got a fair chance of beating them. So I think they're going to take the chance and just stand to receive a cavalry charging column. Could go very badly wrong for the French here, but we'll give it a go. There's plenty of them, so even if one column gets chewed up, hopefully the rest could deal with the cavalry. So they're closing fire for the dragoons coming in. It's going to be 1 shot hitting at 3. That's a hit on the dragoons. They are saving on 4. They do not save it. So I'll push those home into the column and they take 1 casualty. I'll mark that there for the moment. Other than that, nothing else has happened on this flank. Over here, the other battalion, Dutch-Belgians that was here, basically leapfrogged the wall and started to walk forward in the vineyard. They're moving slowly because of that, but they got 1 move off, so they're probably in a position to put some fire down, which is what we wanted. However, they were somewhat let down by the British. The British, well, basically the 95th that were here were ordered to advance and occupy the manor house and its walled gardens. However, they blundered. They rolled double 6. They're well outside of command radius of the Prince of Orange, and anyway, his re-roll's been used. So they had to blunder. However, they rolled a 5, which is advanced 1 move, so they've rushed forward. They're there, but that does mean the rest of the British, because it's command failure, can't move. So they're still just sitting there pondering what to do. So we'll do the shooting first of all, I think. So the 95th, they are probably in range. Yeah, they're in range. So they will fire their 2 shots at the Young Guard column. 2 shots needing 4s. because I remember they got rifles. Cool, 1 and a 2. That's a great start. They do get a reroll because they're sharpshooters, and they hit with a sharpshooter. The column will be saving on a 3, which it gets, so no effect there. The artillery that are here. The artillery that are here, they can't see that column because there's a hill in the way. And they can't see the ones behind because there's a hill in the way, so I think they're going to have to shoot at those guys there. It's long range, 1 dice, hitting at skirmish target at distance is a 6 to hit. They missed. Artillery has not been terribly effective so far on either side. Over here in the orchard, or in the vineyard, they're in range of the voltigeurs that are in the orchard there. They get 3 shots, hitting on a 5 because it's an obscured target. Just the 1 hit. The voltigeurs will get 1 for protection, so they're saving on a 3, which they pass. So no casualties there. We've got the ongoing melee in the farmyard, so we'll worry about that later. Then we've got this British line, sorry, a Dutch-Belgian line, but it's not in range of anything. Oh, we've got the 2, sorry, I forgot the 2 guys. We got the shots from the large barn who can fire at the voltigeurs. It's only 2 dice, but they will hit on a 5. Nope. Dicing's been terrible. So that's everything here, apart from the cannons. We've got the, oops. There we go. We've got the light guns here. They obviously can't fire that way, so I think they're going to have to fire at that line that's walking across the river. It's long range, 1 shot, hitting on a 5. Which, again, true to form, they roll a 1. Let's just swap that out, so that's a casualty on that one from the closing fire. So let's do the melee, shall we? We've got the 2 melees going on. We've got the cavalry charging against the column. So there's no benefit to a cavalry charging home other than the fact they get the +1 for the charge. So they will have 6 dice because they're only light dragoons, hitting on a 3. And that is pretty shocking. 3 hits. All they get, 3 hits. The French column would be saving on a 4 but gets +1 because it's in attack columns, so we'll save on a 3. Just 1 loss, 1 casualty. Mark that up. The column fighting back gets 6 dice, hitting on 4s because they're receiving the charge at the halt, and they do 3 as well. 3 as well. The cavalry save on a 4, and they save 2. No, they don't. They save them all. They save them all. So that is a 1. So basically, the upshot of that is the dragoons win by 1. However, the French are supported, so that is honours even. It's a draw. In a draw, nobody takes any tests because neither of them are shaken. So they'll carry on the combat next go. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for either side. Alright, wasn't expecting that. I thought it'd be a decisive one either way. Over here on the battle for the farmyard, for the first farmyard region, I got it wrong. I just checked it out. Standard or large size buildings give you +3. So actually the chasseurs counted as winning that round, even though they're disordered. So we'll continue the fight. It means the The French get 6 dice, the chasseurs get 2. They will both be hitting on 4s this time. So the defenders get 1 hit, the attackers get 4 hits, which is slightly more than the odds, but there you go. Defenders saving on a 3 because they get the protection. Actually, no, on a 2 because they get protection. Now, I don't think the column works anymore. No, the second round the benefit for the column doesn't apply, so they're saving on 4s. So the upshot of that is 1 casualty, 1 casualty on the defenders. So just 1. So the chasseurs take a wound. The column doesn't take anything. Again, so it's 1-0 to the French. They've got 2 supports. So that's 2 up. So that time it is an actual draw. So the chasseurs take 1 loss. They're still disordered. They've now got 2 casualties. The column coming in is not disordered and has 1 loss. So that stays exactly where it is. Interesting. Wasn't expecting that this turn. So that is the end of turn 4. Right, so we're back with French turn, and it was again a bit of a mixed bag. Starting on the right here, started with what I thought were the best quality troops, the Guard, young Guard admittedly, but they blundered. The first column was supposed to move down the road and go into line to try and counteract those riflemen. Again, exactly the same as the riflemen did. Rolled double 6 and then a 5 on the follow-up, which meant he advances 1 full move. So it's ran down the lane. That battalion's now down the lane on its own, a bit isolated, because of course it means nothing else in this command can move. Over here, the skirmishers, the voltigeurs, hopped out of the orchard and moved forward to line that wall, mainly to stop the Belgians being able to get up to the wall and put pressure on the flank of the Guard. That's why I did that. Over here, nothing much has happened because of the ongoing melee. The battalion that was to the left here in line formed up into column and is now advancing down the flank of the farmyard, potentially to attack in that face of the castle next turn, into the, I say castle, into the farmyard next turn. It's all change over here with the infantry. This is just a mess. So first up, the line that was down here just advanced 1 move further forward. Basically was slowed by all the marshland, but is now providing an additional support to that column. The battalion that was at the back has gone round to the left side of the melee. So now that melee French column has a support on each flank and a support at the rear. So I think the Dutch-Belgian cavalry are doomed. And then the other battalion of infantry moved up behind. So yeah, it doesn't look so good. So with utter confidence, the French dragoons have started to move out to the right flank to try and help to shield the British from getting up towards supporting the Dutch-Belgians. It's not really going to be a cavalry battle, this, I don't think, because it's just a bit too much terrain and a lot of troops. But they look pretty, don't they? Anyway, where do we start? Let's start with some shooting. I don't think there's a huge amount of shooting to be done, actually. So we've got 1 column here, Going to fire a long range shot onto the artillery. Will be hitting on a 5 because it's a skirmish target. Rolls a 1, so that's a nothing. The infantry line here can fire on the Dutch-Belgian line here. I'm going to say they're obscured because they've got to fire through quite a lot of the marshland to get to them, plus part of their line is behind that column. So 3 dice hitting on 5s. You can't quite see that, I'm sorry, but that's 3 1s that they rolled. Clearly the marsh is impacting them more than I thought. The column over here will also fire at the Dutch-Belgian line, will be 1 dice hitting on a 4. This time it gets a 6, so it's a disordering hit. Can the line survive a shot? No, takes a wound. So Dutch-Belgians take first casualty, I think, on the... they took some in the farm, so... And also, actually, the chasseurs took a few hits, didn't they? Artillery. What can the artillery do? Artillery sitting back here. I mean, I think all they can really... Well, I could... What I might do is swing the right-hand battery to fire at the big... the right-hand battery to fire at the big building here. Just to see if they can start putting some pressure on them. It will be what's the range? It's long range, so it's going to be 1 dice, overhead shooting and obscured target. It's going to be a 6 to hit, but why not? Because you rolled a 1. And the other battery will fire a long range shot onto the Dutch-Belgian line that we've already fired on. Will be overhead shot as well. Long range will be 6 as well. The artillery really hasn't got into the game here. It's too far away really to be effective. And also overhead and what have you doesn't help. Right, so that's all the shooting on this side. We'll come back for the melees. So over here the voltigeurs will fire at the Dutch-Belgians. It's going to be 2 shots with a re-roll because they're a small unit, remember, hitting on a 5 because the Dutch-Belgians are partially obscured. Oh no, I did say that the orchard wouldn't, sorry, I said the vineyard wouldn't actually give cover, it would just protect, slow troops down and block line of sight. So I think they're going to be at 4s. Ooh, a 6 and a 3, re-roll the 3, 2 6s, they are disordered. The Dutch-Belgians take 1 wound. Maybe they shouldn't have hopped forward. Starting to take a bit of pressure, the Dutch-Belgians over here. Over here, well, I guess the only thing is that Young Guard column firing at the skirmishers. It's going to be 5s to hit because they're obscured target. Does nothing. So that is all the shooting. So we'll do the melee next. So let's do the fight for the farmyard, round 1, or first section is what I mean. We've had multiple rounds, haven't we? So the French going in get 6 dice. It was a draw last round. They are no longer in assault column. Don't count as getting the extra benefit of protection because it's now like the 3rd round or something fighting. However, they are perfectly intact. They haven't taken any losses at all, have they? No, they've saved everything. So it's 6 dice hitting on 4s for them. 5 hits. Very nice. 5 hits. The defenders are saving on a 2. They saved the lot. No, actually, sorry, tell a lie, there was a 1 there. They lose 1. So that means the Dutch-Belgians are shaken with 3 casualties. They fight back with their 2 figures, hitting on a 4 because... Oh no, the 5 because they were disordered. They get 2 hits. Now the column is no longer no longer gets the extra saving roll because it's after the first round, so they save on a 4. And they take 2 losses themselves. Oh my goodness. So it's 2 versus 1 on the casualty front, which means it's 1 in the favour of the defenders, the Dutch-Belgians. They also get 3 for the protection of the building, which means they're on +4, which means there's nothing the French can do. They lose the combat. It's only a straight break test, but they did lose. Well, wait. So they need to do a break test. So what they get, they roll an 8. An 8 will stay in, so we fight on next round. However, the defenders are shaken, but they won last round. Interesting. They're being tired out, that's for sure. Over here on the flank, the cavalry versus infantry melee. Now the cavalry need to do something seriously impressive here to stand a chance, because the French now have 1, 2, 3 +3 in the follow-up, so it means they should win this. So I'm going to roll the dice together. Pink dice are going to be the French, red dice, brown dice are going to be the Dutch-Belgians. They are both hitting on 4s because it's second round and nobody won last round. So Dutch-Belgians get 4. Oh, and the French only get 2. Okay, again the French column doesn't get the column bonus because it's the second turn, so let's see if they can save any of the 4. They solved. Oh my goodness, I spoke too soon, didn't I? They saved none of them. 4 losses. The cavalry are saving on 4s as well, and they lose 1. So it's 4 plays 1. So it's a 3-up, which means it's a draw again. Yeah, means it's a draw because the infantry get 1, 2, 3, which cancels out 3 extra losses, but the column is well and truly shaken, and it does have excess. Well, that wasn't the way I was expecting that combat to go. So the let's work this out. So they've already got 1 loss already. So they are on 5 casualties. Their shake value, the stamina value is 3. So they're 2 over. They're not disordered or anything. So they're doing a break test at -2 because it was a draw, but they're shaken. And if you're shaken, you take a test. They rolled a 6 down to a 4. And that's them gone. They have broken. First blood. Wow. Well, after the cavalry failed to do anything first time, I really thought that was going to be curtains for the voltigeurs. Sorry, for the light dragoons. I really thought that was them finished. Okay, now because they were destroyed, their supports, or broken, the supports need to test. So that's all 3 of them. So this command here rolls a 7, so that's fine. This one here rolls a 7, so that's fine. And the one up on the left rolls a 6, I think. Probably okay. Let me just double check. So a 6 is retire 1 move and go disordered, so they are pushed back over the river. Okay, so I don't believe, because that was the second round combat, cavalry are not counted as charging. So I don't think they can follow up. However, can they withdraw, which might be a very sensible thing to do with their honours even. Let me just read it up, just bear with. Yeah, as I suspected, the cavalry because it was second round, they cannot do a sweeping advance. They could advance, but there's no point in doing that, but they do have the option to fall back. So I think that is what they're going to do. They are going to fall back that way and cover the guns. So that was not, I was really not expecting that at all. That came off very nicely for the Dutch-Belgian cavalry. I was thought that they would come unstuck there in the second round, really did. But instead they turned it around with an amazing dice roll and managed to destroy the 1st French line battalion. So that will give them food for thought. And that flank now looks a little bit more secure for the Dutch-Belgians, particularly because it's their turn. Of course, they could just launch another charge next go, because it's the Dutch-Belgian go. Maybe the French dragoons shouldn't have moved across the table quite as quickly. Right, that is the end of the Dutch turn. It is now French turn. Sorry, other way around. That was the end of the French turn. Now onto the Dutch-Belgians. Okay, so interesting move for the Allies. The 95th moved up and have occupied the stone enclosure there of the manor house in front of the Young Guard. Let's move back. The horse battery moved out and has joined the Belgians on the hill and unlimbered. Gets free unlimber because it's horse artillery. And over here on the road, the Derbyshires and the 1st Scottish Battalion basically had orders to turn into line from column of march and then advance forward. They only got one move, so they just went into line, so they're both deployed out. It's probably, if I'd stayed in column, they would have got +1, but the trouble is, if they'd failed, you don't want to be hit either by fire or by charging if you're in a column of march. The other battalion, however, was still in column of march on the road, was ordered to do one move forward, go into line and then move again, but again only got one move, so just moved up to there, but I think it's probably safe at the moment. Dutch Belgians in the vineyard couldn't do anything because they were disordered. So over here, this is the other interesting development. The cavalry went again. I thought, let's try luck a second time. Why not? They're here just to slow the French up and stop this flank attack getting in on the flank of the farm. So they charged again onto the guys on the who are actually in the ford. Now the cavalry got 3 moves, and lucky they did because they're a bit slowed by all the terrain there, the marshy, scrubby land. But they did get 3 moves off, so they are fine. It's now to decide what to do with those French. Do they take their chance again, or they just take it safe and go into square? I think after the last lesson, they're just going to go into square. So we roll the dice. Ooh, double 1. Double 1, does that? Oh, right. A unit attempting to form a square in response to a cavalry charge risks becoming disordered. Roll 2d6, add the scores together. On a roll of double 6, the unit is disordered, but it still can form the square, but is disordered. So the enemy can charge home. On a roll of double 1, the unit is not only disordered, but can't form square and must receive the charge at the halt. Wow. So double 1 is his cavalry having a charmed life. So the I'm going to put it there. The infantry are disordered and the cavalry charge home. Wowza. Who knew these Dutch-Belgian light dragoons were so good? Even they didn't think they were that good. Wow. Okay, and other news, the commander of the Dutch-Belgians hopped out and has taken a casualty off the chasseurs, who are no longer shaken, and I've taken their disorder off because they're not going to be able to fire this go anyway. So that's that. So we'll do the shooting. Well, actually, let's do the infantry receiving the charge from the cavalry. They only get 1 dice and they are disordered, but there is closing fire, so they're hitting on 4s. They are really spooked. Another 1. So nothing happens there. The cannon here, well, if he fires at the line, they get cover. But if he fires at, yeah, it's still long range shot because this is only a light battery. If he fires there at the column, they don't get a line, you get +1, but they are firing overhead of their friends. So it's only going to be 4s, 5s, 6s if they fire back to 5 against the column. Against the guys in the marshland, it's going to be 6s. However, the guys in the marshland get, I'm overthinking this, fire at the column, 5s to hit. No, missed anyway. That's what I mean, overthinking it sometimes. Just roll the bloody dice. Combat's ongoing. The defenders in the big barn will fire their 2 shots down onto the voltigeurs just outside them. I think they're at close range now, so that is going to be 4s to hit. 2 hits, including a disorder on the voltigeurs. They're saving on 4s. They save 1 and lose 1. That could be useful. Could this be a turn the Dutch-Belgians would be very pleased about? Right, so that's that. Moving across the disordered line. Just need another dice there. Disordered line has 3 dice, hitting on 5s because they're an obscured target. 1 hit. The voltigeurs will get a saving roll because of the cover, so 3s. They don't take it, so they are shaken as well. Okay, so that really didn't go so well for the voltigeurs coming around to support their friends. Let's move on. Artillery. The Dutch-Belgian artillery, probably their closest target now is... Sorry, my phone's going crazy. It's just over half range, but that is definitely going to be their best target. So it's 1 shot. I don't think it's a flank shot because... Okay, so I've looked at the diagram on the thing and it appears you have to be pretty much straight down the line to get enfilading fire. So it's just going to be 1 shot, firing at long range into a column is a 4, obscured is a 5. It's a hit. Column takes, would be a 4, but artillery at long range is basically the column counteracts the artillery, so it becomes a 4. No effect. The horse guns beside it, they might as well fire at the same target, I think. They are also firing just 1 dice, hitting on a 4. No, 5. I've just done this, Dom. So long range is 4, makes it a 5. Column makes it a 4. Cover makes it a 5 again. 5. No, missed. Okay, the Sharps boys up there in the built-up area, they'll fire down on the young guard. They get 2 dice plus a re-roll, hitting on a 4. 1 hit. 1 hit. Column takes... I'm not going to give them cover because the built-up area is above them, so I think that's fair enough, and they're firing basically into the road where they're standing, so it's going to be just a straight up 3 column attack save and roll, which they saved, so no casualties. So that young guard battalion comes off pretty well. Okay, on to the melees. So let's start with the glorious cavalry charge again. They get their 6 dice, hitting on a 3. Yeah, managed to roll 2 1s. That's 4 hits though. 4 hits. The French are... so do they get column of attack when they're disordered? I think they still do. I don't think there's anything about that. I think it's just straight up. So we'll say they do. So they get 4 saves of 3. They suffer just the 1 casualty. The French fight back with 6. However, they're hitting on 5s because they are disordered. 1 only. The cavalry save on a 4, and they saved it. So 1 loss to the French. So it's 1 up, but the cavalry lose because the French get supports from behind and to the side, and possibly to that side as well. So the cavalry need to do a break test. They roll a 7, which will be a bounce. So they will go back to basically where they started. So the cavalry end up back where they started there. We'll do the melee next for the built up area. So bizarrely the disordered defenders won that. So they are 2 dice hitting on a... would be a 3 because they won, but they are disordered and shaken as well for that matter. So they are hitting 2 dice on a 4. Double 6. Wow. Double 6. The attackers are 6 dice. They're not disordered or anything. 6 dice hitting on 4s. And they get 4 hits. 4 plays 2. So the defenders are anything but 1s. And they get 1 anything. So that's another casualty on the defenders. And the 2 attacks on the column. 1 goes through. Because they no longer get the bonus of the column. So it's 1 plays 1. The built up area gives the defenders +3, so that's 3 up in their favour. The column gets 2 supports, so they lose. So the French took 1 casualty, which actually, they're now on 3, which actually shakes them. It's hard to take buildings in these rules. So, because they counted as losing, they need to do a break test. However, it's they're on exactly their break even. So 3s standard roll. A 9 will mean it stays locked in. So you got a shaken column against a shaken defender fighting it out. So the same scenario. Basically, the defenders go back to their shake number of 3, and the column stays on 3 too. So that's the end of the Allied turn 5, was that, I think? Pretty useful. They killed their first French column, and the cavalry have done a wonderful job of slowing up this attack, because of course now they're disordered and they're disordered, so only these columns here can actually move anywhere, and they've got quite a lot of defenders waiting for them now. The Brits have arrived slowly, but they've arrived. So what can the Young Guard do about it? Let's see. Right, so pretty good turn for the French, I think. They're the battalion that was behind the guys here on the ford that are disordered, advanced through and formed line right in front of those cavalry. Maybe risky, but I think they just need to try and get rid of those cavalry once and for all, and a good volley may well do that. Obviously the other 2 battalions here couldn't move anywhere. The guys in the marsh trudged forward to the front of the marsh. In fact, when they first tried to move, they failed. But luckily with the withering eye of the Emperor, they passed their test, recheck, and moved. so they did actually move out there, which is good for them. That shielded this column and allowed them to swing in and charge into this facing of this built up area here. So the chasseurs have done a sterling job so far, but I think they're up against it, fighting off two columns. I bet one that's disordered and shaken. This column that was supporting here has formed into line in readiness. Should the chasseurs beat the column, they can at least volley them or occupy the buildings. Don't really know why I did that. Anyway, doesn't matter. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Over here, not such good news. The shaken... no, they could have done that as initiative. Strike that. I was just... What I did originally think they were going to order... I was going to order them to pull back into the orchard, those voltigeurs that are shaken. They failed the order, but actually looking at it, they could do it as an... They could do it directly away. And I'm going to leave them there. I'm going to leave them exactly where they are. That's what I tried to do, so that's what I tried to do. The Tyreliers, the Young Guard voltigeurs, moved forward. They only managed to get that far, but that's fine. They can start putting some pressure on the Dutch-Belgians and starts to shield what's going on over here. The cavalry got two moves and came swinging around, so they're ready to start to put some pressure on the Brits. And over here, this looks a bit of a mess, so let's run through it. What happened? The Young Guard that were down here in the road did an initiative charge into the 95th, and the two columns that were down where the camera is basically advanced forward as a column, as a battalion column to there. The Marines came forward to support. The Guard artillery were ordered up onto the hill but refused to move. So that is it. So we'll do some shooting. Well, let's do the defensive fire from the 95th being charged, because since I'm here, they get two shots with a sharpshooter. They are firing at threes. That's one hit, two hits. The column is saving on threes. Takes one casualty, but crucially isn't disordered. Have the columns got any range? No, not quite. Very close, but not quite. The voltigeur of the Guard will fire two shots onto the Dutch-Belgian battalion. The majority of the Dutch-Belgians behind the wall, so they will count as obscured. It's two dice with a re-roll, hitting on fours. Oh, missed with both. Re-roll hits one. Okay, save and roll for the Dutch-Belgians will be 3 because they get cover and they save it. The shaken voltigeurs will fire two shots. They are going to be hitting on a 5. They do get one re-roll and they miss entirely, so that nothing happens there. We'll come back to the melees in a minute. The artillery, what should that? Oops. The artillery, the battery closest will continue to fire at the large barn. Will be 6s to hit. Nope. The other gun will fire at the Dutch-Belgian line battalion, which will also be 6s because overhead and long range, so no effect there. Moving across. The defenders here will get two shots on the attacking column. Now, although they're in melee, because they're only fighting two figures each side, they can fight multiple directions. So they will fire in defence. They get two shots. They are shaken, however, but it is closing fire, so it's 4s to hit. It's 2 hits of 4, well 4 and a 5. Saving roll for the column going in is going to be 3s. They've saved both. Okay, the French line here will fire on the Dutch-Belgian line. Will be 3 shots hitting on 4s. Just the one. Dutch-Belgian save on a 4, and they save it. Right, important for the French. This French line battalion will fire on the cavalry. 3 shots hitting on 4s. Oh, disorder and 2 hits. 2 saving rolls of 4. They save both of them, but they are disordered. That should allow the infantry now to cross the river. This cavalry are amazingly stubborn at the moment. They're just clinging in there, doing an amazing job. Alright, that is it, I think, for now. So we do some melees. Let's do the complicated one first. This is the, well, we've only got 2, so we'll do the first of them, shall we? That's a good idea, Dom. So we got here, we'll start with the French dice because that's slightly easier to work out, he said, scratching your head. So the existing column here has 6 dice, however they are shaken and they lost, so they're hitting on 5s. Oh, there's a blooming good roll. 4 6s, so it's 4 hits. This could be curtains for the chasseurs, I feel. The chasseurs saving on a 2. However, they save everything, so that is no casualties there. The Dutch-Belgian fight back with 2 fighters against that column. They won the last round, but they are shaken themselves, so they're hitting on 4s. You get 1 hit. The French column saves on a 4 because it doesn't get the column bonus. Saves it, so that's honours even there. No casualties. The fresh combat, however, let's see what happens there. So the French get 6 dice. They are hitting on 3s because they charged. Oh, that was not so good. Only 3 hits. Only 3 hits there. Save and roll for the defenders. Take 1 casualty. So finally 1 goes through. The defenders fight back with 2 on that side. However, they are still shaken because it's the unit that's shaken. So they are hitting on 5s. They get 1. The French column in is saving on 3 because it's first round, which it throws a 3, so it wins. So what happens? The defenders took 1 casualty and gave out none, so that's 1 up to the French. However, the defenders get +3 for defending in a built up area, so that means they're on +2. The French get 2 as well because they're supported, so there's honours even, so therefore it's a draw, and the defenders, in fact both the defenders and the attacking column, will have to do a break test because both of them were shaken at the start, and on a draw you need to do that. So the French column first rolls an 11, so they're fine. The Dutch-Belgians, they will lose -2, 1 for excess and 1 for disorder. They got a 12. These guys, none of these guys are wanting to stop this fight. They really want to keep going. So it's honours even, basically. However, I think because that unit, no, because it didn't win. It didn't win because it only inflicted 1 casualty, and because of all the defenders, it's all even. So I think that stays as a flat-out draw. That column still is shaken. They're okay. The defenders are still shaken. Wow. All right. That is the end of the French turn. No, that's the... Yeah, it's the end of the French turn. Oh no! How can I forget the 95th, Martin's favourite, defending against the Young Guard. Okay, so the Young Guard gets 6 dice. The 95th get 2 dice. This may have been daft. The 95th probably should have run away, evaded. Sorry, but it's sharp. God damn it, and Harper. So the Young Guard are hitting on 3s because they're charging. The 95th are hitting on 5s because skirmishers get -1. So all bar 1 of the French hit and 1 of the 95th hit. So save and roll for the 95th will be a 2 and for the column will be a 3. That's not so good. 2 casualties on the 95th and nothing on the Young Guard. So Young Guard win. Sharp and his boys are shaken because they took 2 casualties. They have to do a break test because even though... Oh no, hang on, that isn't a win. It was a draw. No, hang on, let's look at this suddenly. So it was 2 casualties on the 95th. They get +3 for the built up area, so they are on +1. So they actually win. Even though they were shaken, they won the melee. Crikey. So the column needs to do a test. Rolls a 9, so stays locked in. Wow, that's an odd situation. So because the 95th have the protection of the building, they can have a chance to hold it, but they are shaken. And I rule that because that column is going that way, it's not supporting them that way. That basically the Trelliers have got no support, which is why they didn't do so well there. So, they're holding on with grim death in that built-up area. Right, on to the Dutch-Belgian and English turn 5. I really thought this turn the farm was going to fall. I really did. But it hasn't so far, so onwards. Right, so battle is well and truly joined right across the field here now. First up, I did debate about retiring the chasseurs. In the end decided not to. I'm hoping that the combined effect of the guns even firing overhead and the line can at least disorder that French line, in which case the cavalry might get another charge. If they pull back, they're pretty much going to be never have a chance to go back in. The chasseurs that had previously been in that swampy area and were rallied last turn by their commander were ordered to move out into the flank and into the wooded area over here. First time they failed, but luckily Commander CNC re-roll and they were able to get over 1 move at least, so they're sort of hot-footing it over to the left there. Commander then jumped back into the built-up area to see what's going on. Other than that, again, I did debate about moving the Dutch-Belgian line back, but I chose not to in the end. I thought they're probably just as well where they are. And we've got some thin red lines in action over here. These 2 lines here, the Derbyshire and the Highlanders, moved up 1 move in line, and the other Highlander regiment moved forward, went into line and then moved forward and is now deployed there. So could be some interesting developments this turn. The Young Guard may need the cavalry, that's all I'm saying. Right, battery change and we're back with some shooting. Right, let's get on with some shooting then. So the Derbyshire regiment is going to fire at that front column there. Do they get protection of the wood hedge? I think they probably do. Probably do get cover there. So it would be 3 dice, but the Brits get first fire, so they get 4 dice, hitting on a 4 down to a 5. Wow, 2 6s off the bat. The column will be saving on a 2 because of protection. They save, but they are disordered. That's that one there. Moving over the Highlanders here, they'll fire. Now the column they're firing at does not get any cover, so it'll be 4 shots again, first firing, hitting on 4s. 2 hits, including a disorder on them too. Now they only save on a 3, but they save both, so they are disordered, but okay. The artillery. The artillery next. Now, are they in range? Short range? No, still long range for them. So the horse battery will fire 1 shot overhead at the column. Will be hitting on 6s. Nope. And the Dutch-Belgian brigade here, battalion. What am I talking? Dutch-Belgian battery here will fire. It fires there. That's probably okay. I don't think that's overhead because the majority of the unit is not overhead, and its effective range. So it's 2 dice hitting on firing a column is going to be a 3 to hit. Double 1. Wow, the artillery has been shockingly bad. The Dutch-Belgian line that's in the orchard there, in the vineyard there, it's disordered. Will fire at the skirmishers in front of it. They are going to be hitting on 4, 5 skirmish 6s. Gets 1 hit. Skirmishers will get a bit of protection, and so they pass it, but they are disordered. They're already disordered, so that's fine. We'll take the disorder marker off the Dutch-Belgians, so remember it. And then the guys in the big barn will also fire down on the shaken voltigeurs. It's 2 dice. They will be hitting on it's close range, but they are a skirmish target, so it's going to be 4s to hit. That's 2 hits, including a disorder. Voltigeurs save them both, however, so no effect. Moving over, we'll do the combats in a minute. Let's start over here. Whoops. We'll do the combats in a minute. So we've got this Dutch-Belgian line will fire on the French line in front of it. The Dutch-Belgians are disordered, so they'll be hitting on 5s. So much for my master plan. They missed all shots, so I'll take the disorder off for the moment. The artillery will fire. They are in effective range, so 2 dice. Overhead, however, is hitting on a 5. Nothing at all. Oh dear, cavalry could be in a bit of trouble again. I'll take the cavalry disorder off for the moment as well, and that is all the firing, I believe. So we've got 2 combats. Let's start with the battle for the farm. That, after all, is the objective. So the flankers here, it was all on as even. It was a draw. Or did the... No, it was a draw, wasn't it? It was a draw. Because the defenders lost the casualty, the attackers didn't lose anything, but they've got three supports. Yeah, they've got 2 supports, whereas, yeah, so it was even. It was even, I'm pretty sure it was even. Defenders out this flank get 2 dice hitting on 5s because they're disordered, or shaken even. That's 1 hit on the French column. French column doesn't get the benefit of column anymore, so saves on a 4, but saves anyway. they do their 4 attacks, their 6 attacks back, hitting on 4s because they don't get the charge bonus anymore. Oh, just 1. Wow, just 1. Defenders, save it. So nothing happens here. In the front, the French get 6 dice again. This time they are shaken, so they are saving. They are attacking on a 5. Just the 1. Defenders, save it. So the defenders get 2 dice against the front column, hitting on a 5 because they are shaken themselves, and they do nothing. So it was handbags at dawn. No casualties at all on either side. Therefore the built-up area wins this time because they get +3. They get +3, whereas the attackers only get 2 supports. So the defenders of the building win by 1, which means it's a break test for the shaken column in front. But they roll an 8, so that will go to a 7. They haven't got any excess, so they stay locked in. Wow, this fight is just going on and on and on. And this is only the first section of the farm. It's proving a really tough nut to crack. Okay, so we do round 2 of the melee over here. So the 95th won it, even though they're shaken, and they're light cavalry and they're skirmishers, which means they get 2 dice fighting on a, well, would be 3 because they won the melee, but they are skirmish, which brings it to 4, and they are shaken, brings it to 5. The French are hitting on a straight 4. So instantly I can see the 95th did nothing, and the French didn't do a lot more. They did 2. 2 saves from the 95th. They saved them both, which means once again the 95th win the melee, and the Young Guard have to do a break test. They rolled a 5. Let's probably retire. Retire 1 full move to the rear and become disordered. So the 95th were victorious in the end, even though they're shaken. Everything else, they won the melee. All right. I just realised I should have done a break test for the other French column because they lost into the built-up area. They lost the melee. They rolled an 8, so they're fine. Okay, that is the end of. I've lost track of what turn it is. We'll be back with the French turn, whatever that may be. Right, so yet another. I feel this is a make or break turn for the French here. What's happened? The 2 line battalions there stayed exactly where they are. They're just going to put some fire down on their respective targets. The other battalion that was out on the other side of the river has moved up to supporting column. This column that was on the marsh has now swung, or on the ford, now swung there to provide support into the built-up area attack. So that will mean the French have now got 3, which at least cancels out the defender. Nothing much else happened in the centre. Out here, the voltigeurs that were over here and shaken have pulled back into the orchard. so they won't lose any disorders this turn, which is the price they have to pay. But over here, and also you can see the Young Guard skirmishers have moved up to the wall to basically get some extra protection from the Dutch-Belgian line. But it's all changed over here. So what happened? Well, you can see the cavalry have moved up and now finally ready to actually play a part in the battle, having danced across the battlefield like the dandies that cavalry tend to be. Now, all three of the Young Guard battalions here were disordered. However, they are elite, and they all three managed to take roll 4+ and took off their disorders, which was very fortunate of them. So this battalion went straight back in onto Sharp's boys, has charged straight back in. The other battalion there went straight down the road and has hit the Derbyshires, supported by the Marines, and the other battalion has attacked the Highlanders. So, choices really now for the Brits. What do? They have a steady rule option. So let's start with Sharp's boys. Is it worth them defending, or are they better off just running? Excuse me, burping. They are going to be fighting at a major disadvantage. They get... they're already shaken. They will be hitting on a 4. Skirmishing fighting is a 5, and I think they're going to run. They're going to evade back. So they will evade all the way back here. I think that's the only thing, into the woods. There's no point in them fighting that battle. The chances are they'll get broken. The battalion of Young Guards is not something they're really designed to fight. Don't you think? I mean, if that was Bernard Cornwall, well, they'd fight that out. So therefore the Young Guard can occupy this built-up area here. Now they can go and skirmish as well, so they're pretty useful in there. Okay, what should do with the Derbyshires? So they've all used their first fire, but as I say, the British troops in the book have a steady line option. When charged, a formed British unit with steady line rule that is not disordered or shaken can stand and fire as usual with the usual fire modifications, or fire and countercharge, but in this case doesn't get the closing fire bonus. So I think it's easy for me with the Highlanders. They're going to fire and charge. So that will be, because they are aggressive, so if they charge they get a reroll, I believe, or tough fighters I think it's called. Mind you, they'll probably get that anyway. Yeah, I think they're going to do it anyway. So they will charge their Highlanders, that's what they're going to do, right? So they will fire a volley, but they won't get closing fire, so they're hitting on 4s. And they get 1 hit of a 6. So that's a disorder hit on the column coming in. It rolls a 5, so he's not doesn't lose a casualty, but is disordered on the thing. So they will actually probably meet about there because the countercharge comes in. The other one, what should the Derbyshires do? Should they stand and receive, or should they just... So they would have 3 dice hitting on a 3, or 3 dice hitting on a 4 with a countercharge. I think they're going to... trouble is, their countercharge they'll probably get out of command. No, they're going to receive the charge because they've got the Highlanders backing them up, and they'll get +1 support, whereas the French have already got +1. So it is 3 at 3. They get 2 hits. 2 hits on the column coming in. 1 goes through. So they cause 1 casualty on the Young Guard. Didn't get the crucial disorder, which is what they really wanted there. So we'll do the melees in a minute. Let's carry on with the rest of the shooting. Is there any more shooting? No, there isn't over here. Actually, I haven't done any shooting yet, so we'll carry on with the shooting at all. The guard artillery managed to move and get up onto the hill, but they didn't have enough orders left to unlimber. So we'll do the small unit of skirmishing young guard will fire at those fellas opposite them. They'll get 2 dice with a re-roll hitting on a 4, because the vineyard doesn't provide and obscures, but it doesn't provide cover. That's what I said, wasn't it? So 5s to hit. 1 6, 2 hits, including a 6. They get their disorder back on, and they get 2 saves. They make them both though. So that is that. The shaken and disordered voltages here might as well fire onto the large barn. It'll be 6s to hit. With a re-roll, nothing. The melee will come back to artillery. The 1 gun battery will continue to fire at the... no, tell you what, they're both going to switch target and fire at the Dutch-Belgians over the way, the line of them. So there's 2 shots coming in, 1 from each battery. It's an overhead shot and a long-range shot, so they will be hitting on 6s. 2 6s. It was worth switching targets. The Dutch-Belgians are disordered. They are also suffering a -1 for being hit at cannonballs at long range, so they are saving on 5s. And they take 2 losses. Oh, that is crucial. That is a huge win. Finally, the artillery do something, because that shakes that Dutch-Belgian battalion. That's a big win. Finally, the artillery come good. So they're disordered and shaken, that battalion. Other firing, sorry. The battalion here will also fire at that now shaken Dutch-Belgian battalion. It's 3 dice hitting on 4s. 2 more hits. Oh dear. But they save them both. Wow, that's lucky. Wow, that's lucky. The line here will fire at the cavalry again. 3 shots hitting on a 4. They get 1, and it's a disorder, which does go through. So this cavalry may have to change their plans and actually pull that next go, because they're now disordered and they've got 2 wounds, so they're 1 off being shaken. The good news for the Dutch-Belgians is the line there doesn't have to do a break test, because it's suffered exactly its stamina. It hasn't exceeded. Okay, well, I think it's combat time again, isn't it? So over here, let's do the defenders first. So the fighting this side here, they get 2 dice hitting on 3s because they won the melee last turn. That's 2 hits. Hitting on 4s because they're shaken, sorry. Only 1 hit. The French column is no longer getting the column bonus, so they take a casualty, so that's 1 loss on them. They fight back with 6 dice themselves. Right, so the French fighting back, they get 6 dice. They're hitting on 4s. They do very well. 5 hits. Wow, 5 hits. The defenders save on a 2. They save the lot. Good grief. So what else? We've got the other flank. So the 2 defenders fight on a they're shaken, so it's 5s. They get 1 on them as well, so 1 on the column that's no longer classed as a column. Takes a wound as well, so that's 2 wounds inflicted on the French. The French column fights back with 6 dice. It's disordered, sorry, it's shaken, so it's hitting on 5s. 2 hits. Can it get casualty on the defenders? No, it can't. So, crikey, every time I think this fight is swinging towards the French, the Dutch-Belgians show tenacity and hold on. So, it was actually 2 casualties on the French and none on the defenders. So that's a clear victory to the defenders. So, the column over here will need to do a break test. It's a straight break test just for losing the combat. Rolls a 6. I think that'll be retire. So 6 is retire 1 full move without changing direction and go disordered. Right. Oh, crikey. So they're going to have to come. I thought I was being clever there by putting some supports in, but clearly not enough. The defenders are built of stern stuff. So they come back to there. They are disordered with 2 losses. That casualty is on the front battalion. All right. The shaken and disordered, no, they're just shaken, but they are 1 in excess, that column. So therefore they're taking a test at -1. Oh, a 5. That becomes a 4. We know 4 or less is a rout. So they are broken. Another column bites the dust. Oh, geez. This is a really hard fight for the French. They're being slowed up and beaten slowly but surely. That's the 2nd battalion down. 1 from each command, so won't affect their command rating, but that does mean that the this battalion and this battalion need to do a break test because they were supporting. So we'll start with this one here. That is a retire and go disordered, and the other column here stays where it is. So, and under the eyes of the Emperor, this battalion has to pull back. And is now disordered. And I'll take all that away. And this battalion over here on the gate stays where it is. Okay, so the chasseurs did pretty well there. They did really well, actually. I really thought this turn that the front part of that farm was going to fall. So I think that battalion that was supporting the guys that were here doesn't have to do a break test because that one didn't break. It was over here that broke. So that's where I'm playing at. It's a bit complicated when you play multiple attacks into a built-up area. It's not as neat as it would otherwise appear. Right, I think that's it. We've got the melee against the English to do. Right, on to the fights. We've got the French Young Guard charging into the British line. Both sides get 6 dice. This was the one where the Derbyshire Regiment stood to receive. So they will be hitting on 4s and the French will be hitting on 3s. French are charging. They are the pink dice and the English are the ready dice, of course. That's pretty good dicing. Let's just pull back so you can see the dice. Pinky dice. So French got 5 hits, as did the British. So 5 plays 5. Wow. Okay, brutal fight. But the French get a bit of an advantage in the saving rolls because they are in column. So let's roll for them. Be saving on a 3. Did I say an advantage? That's 3 losses. 3 casualties to the French, and then the British rolling on a 4. And they get 3 too. So 3 plays 3. Now then, the outcome of that is both formations are shaken instantly. The British have 1 support. The skirmishers can't give support. The French have 2 supports because now the maybe I should have stood with the 95th, but they're being supported by these guys. Well, can they support because they charged? Right, so I can't see anything in the rules that doesn't allow the these guys here to support their fellow battalion, because basically they're in the support lane. They weren't involved in the melee because the British ran away, evaded. So I think that means the French win the combat by 1. Even though the French column is 1 over its shake test, or over its stamina. Yeah. So it's a win by 1. Both columns both formations are shaken, but only the British need to take a break test because they because they lost the combat. They roll a 5. Now a 5 is probably retire. Yeah, retire 1 full move to the rear and go disordered. So now the guys supporting them do not need to. They'll get stopped by all this terrain, so they won't have to go the whole 12 inches. They'll get support. They'll get the Highland regiment behind doesn't have to test because the Derbyshire regiment wasn't destroyed or routed, so no need for them to do a test. The French column could continue, but it can't pursue into the fresh target, so probably best for it is to retire behind its supports, which it can do. Oops. And they go back to just 3 casualties. But are shaken. Okay, that was a brutal fight. So the next combat is the Highlanders over there against another battalion of Young Guard. This time the Young Guard are disordered, and also the Highlanders countercharged because they're allowed to under steady line rules, which means the British this time are hitting on 3s, whereas the French are hitting on 4s. Also, the British are tough fighters, so that gives them 1 reroll. So 3s for the Brits. That's 4 hits. Let's give the reroll. Nope, still 4 hits. And the French get nothing. Oh my goodness. That is terrible. That is, oh, you can see that. 3 3s, 2 2s and a 1. So, upshot of that is the French take 4 casualties, or have to do 4 dice checks. But dice checks? Stamina checks. They are in a column, so they are saving on a 3. And they take 2 losses. So, 2 casualties on them. They haven't got any casualties already, so that's one good thing. But it does clearly mean that they've lost the melee. 2-1, 2-0 even, because the Highlanders didn't suffer any losses. So it's going to be a break test for the French. Oh dear, a 4. And we know what 4 means, don't we, children? 4 means broken. So they rout. So the Young Guard, 1st Young Guard Battalion, is destroyed. That's some turnaround. So it's bloody. Both the combats there were very bloody. Yeah. So the French, that French Young Guard Brigade was on the teetering on the edge of being broken there, because they've got a 1 broken unit and 1 shaken unit, but because they're lucky, they've got 5 units. Well, they've got 3 regular sized battalions, the Marines, who are a small battalion, and the other small battalion of skirmishing troops. So they are just about okay, but only just. Mind, the Brits are in a similar position. They've lost. They've only lost one battalion shaken, because the well, they've lost 2 out of 5 as well. 2 out of, yeah. So okay, challenging times for both flanks. Right, that is the end of French turn. I want to say 7. I'm not entirely sure. So we'll be back with the next turn. Right, so big turn, I think, coming for the Allies here. They have taken the breathing opportunity to retire the Dragoons, who've retired back here. Therefore will stay disordered on 2 wounds. They just couldn't sit in front of those infantry too much longer. The chasseurs have worked all the way around and now in the woods here, ready to provide some support to the battery. The battalion here that was shaken, the commander has joined and rallied off 1 of the wounds, so they are just disordered now. Should they still be disordered? Yes, because they were disordered in the French turn, that makes sense. Biggest change, you can see the tough as nails chasseurs have fallen back, because there's no melee going on anymore for the farm. They've fallen back into the back area and have been replaced by the untried, newly raised large regiment of militia. We'll see how that pans out. It's risky, but I think the chasseurs were going to break at some point. At least this way they've got a chance of rallying and holding the back portion. Meanwhile, not much happened over this side. The Dutch-Belgians there couldn't really do anything. Over here, what happened? I did debate on charging the Highlanders into the flanks of one of those battalions over there, the French down lining the hedge, but then realistically all they're going to get done is ridden down by the Dragoons. So I think they're just going to see if they can put their fire into those fellows and cause some mayhem. Likewise, the other Highland regiment down here, I did debate about charging into the Marines there, the Guard, but I think they've got their first fire, so they're just going to hold and fire, see what they can do. I meant to move these guys back a bit because they don't want to be shot at, so these will just retire. 95th retire to lick their wounds. They're still shaken, but they're not disordered because they evaded. There we go. Whoops. And the general, the British general, moved and rallied off a wound off the Derbyshires, so they're no longer shaken. So we got some shooting to do. No melees this turn. Wow, no melees. So let's start with the Highlanders. Grab another dice. They're going to fire on the Marines of the Guard that are down the lane there. You can see them just in the distance. So we get normally 3 shots, but first firing gives them a 4th shot. I'm not going to say the Marines have got any cover there because everyone's in the lane, but they are a column. So 4 shots needing 4. Wow. 3 hits including 2 6s. There's column saving on a 3. They only take 1 loss, but they are disordered. Now again, they are elite, so they have a chance of rolling that off. Last time all the French rolled off all their casualties straight off their disorders immediately. Let's see whether they can do it again this time. The other Scots battalion here, I think, will fire at the Dragoons. I think they've got to try and whittle those down because that cavalry charge could be the game winner. So they're going to fire a volley. It's 3 shots because they've fired their first volley, and they will be hitting on 4s. Yep, 2 hits, no 6 though, which was what they really needed. Cavalry save 1 of them, so there's 1 loss on that cavalry, but crucially no disorder. Whoops, it's gone underneath. Oh well, never mind. Moving back, we've got the light Royal Horse artillery gun. What should that fire at? It's long range because it's only a light gun. Do we fire? If we fire overhead at the Marines, that's going to be a 6 to hit. Still going to be a 6 whatever we do. We're going to fight the Marines because if we can get 1 wound on there, they'll be shaken. Oh, it's a 6. So a light cannon hit at range is -1, which cancels out the cover, so they're saving on a 3. Oh, they saved. Unlucky. Or very lucky, or whatever way you want to do it. So then the Dutch-Belgian medium gun is firing 2 dice. Now, we'll be hitting on a 4 against the cavalry. That's a 6 and a 4, so that's 2 hits. Being hit at medium range by artillery brings their armour class down 2, so they need 6s. It's 2 casualties, so they are now shaken. The artillery turned their gaze on the cavalry and hit them, and they are disordered and shaken. I'll put the wounds on in a minute. What next? Disorder away there. Oh no, they didn't move this guy. Right, the Dutch Belgians here. They will fire a volley. Really nothing else to fire at apart from those skirmishers, so they'll fire 3 shots there, hitting on a 5. That's 1 hit, and it's a disordering hit. But it's 4 is saved because they get cover, so they are disordered, and that comes off the Dutch-Belgian. Moving across, the troops occupying the big barn will fire down. Well, I think they've got to fire on the. No, I tell you what, I'm going to start the firing here. Whoops. With the fresh battalion of newly raised troops. They're going to fire out of the building into the column outside. So the battalion that's moved into the front area is newly raised, so they need to roll a dice every time for the first time they fire all hand to hand to see how they're going to behave. They roll a 3, so that's perfectly normal, so no effect for that. They roll their 2 dice because they're firing out of the area, out of the built up area. They're firing into a column, which is going to be 4s to hit. 4s to hit. 4s to hit. Do absolutely nothing. So the guys in the barn, the large barn, will also fire into the column on the road. Will be forced to hit as well. Did I say 5 to hit? No, forced to hit. So it's 1 hit on the French, and they save it. So no effects there. Moving across now, then I think the two troops out that side can now fire into the flank of that line there, because they are enfilading it. That's for sure. So it's 2 dice. Looks like it's very close range. They're hitting on 3s. It's 2 hits, including a disorder, but both are saved. So that line is disordered. Oh, again, it's been disordered more times than I don't know what you say. The chasseurs here that are in this area probably should have fired last turn with the other guys, but anyway, maybe 1 dice onto those fellas will allow, needing 5s because they're shaking a disorder. No effect. Oh, they get a re-roll though because they're sharpshooters. Still miss. The Dutch-Belgian battalion here will fire a volley into their opposite numbers here. So that's 3 dice, needing 5s because they're disordered. There's 2 hinks, including a 6. That's 1 wound on the Frenchies. And then the cannons, there we go, and the cannons will also fire at them, and they're going to take quite a peppering here. So it's 2 dice, hitting on 4. Oh, I say that and there are a 1 and a 2. The chasseurs that are in the woods over here, beside the artillery, will also fire at them. It's going to be 2 shots, but with a re-roll, hitting 4s. It's 1 hit, 2 hits. They save on a 4, so another loss. So they're up to 2 casualties. So that is the end of this turn for the Allies. They're kind of, I mean, bear in mind their job is to hold this crossing and this farm. They're actually doing okay. I feel like the French have never really got going. It's been a tough old slog for them so far. I thought they were going to get the farm. I really thought they were going to get into that front section of the farm, but instead they haven't, and they've lost now 2 infantry battalions and a young guard battalion. The Emperor is not going to be impressed, and so far the Allies have lost no battalions at all. A couple shaken, but nothing beyond that. So alright, we'll be back with French turn 8, I think. Right, we seem to be very much in a consolidation phase for the French this turn. Maybe one last effort to go after the farm, or at least half the farm anyway. I think, by my reckoning, this is turn 9. I played this over a couple of days, so I kind of lose track. So I would imagine sort of dusk is starting to fall, and the planned outflank on... Basically, the original plan for the French here was to try and work around the flanks of the farmyard and attack it with the Young Guard one side and this brigade this side. Neither has worked because the Young Guard have been drawn off into a fight with the British who have arrived and sort of coming off rather badly against them, to be fair. And on this flank, largely down to the efforts of the chasseur skirmishers and the Dutch-Belgian light cavalry, they've been, and also I guess fair to say the river and the marshland have slowed them down considerably, and they really haven't got into a position to do much about it. So what's happened? This battalion was already disordered, so it couldn't move. The battalion behind moved through it and went into line. They rolled to see if they were disordered, but they weren't, so they stayed there. This battalion is also disordered, so there's nothing you can do. The battalion over here, I was debating whether to charge it straight into the built-up area, but I thought the trouble is it will go in isolated, wouldn't have any supports. So instead it's gone into line, and it is going to try and, combine with the artillery and the other battalions, try and just put enough casualties on those militia in there to try and just make them give up the ground. This battalion is still disordered. What else? Let's move across. Battery's about to die, so I may have to do a quick change. This battalion was already disordered. This battalion, as I say, I was thinking about charging it in along with the one on the flank, but in the end I'm going to hold a turn, see whether all the fire from 2 battalions, the column, and all the artillery and the skirmishers can at least disorder that large unit inside the built-up area. The general, brigade general, moved here and took off a casualty off the skirmishers. Over here on the flank, the guard batteries finally got into position unlimbered, so it can fire this go because it didn't move, it just unlimbered. The cavalry, so the dragoons that were in front that got shaken by all that fire have fallen back, and their 2nd regiment has gone charging through and is charging those Highlanders. They may get lucky, they may just bounce, we'll see. And then over here on the flank, again I did think long and hard whether to be aggressive or not. In the end I decided let's just try and soften up the Brits a little bit. So the Marines, being elite, managed to in fact I rolled yet again all the actually no, I didn't need to do one for so once again the Marines managed to shake off their disorder because of their eliteness, and the general moved back here to take off a casualty off the other Yard Guard regiment, so it's no longer shaken. I did forget the light infantry, or the small unit of young guard that are up against the wall. Because they're also elite, they could try and lose their disorder, and they do too. Blimey, it's about 6 for nothing. I've done that. The disorders have come off again. So we've got a couple of things to think about. Do the Highlanders fancy their chances being hit by a cavalry charge? Now this is a bit different because these are dragoons, and so they're heavy cavalry. They get 7 dice, I think, and also heavy cavalry 1. So I think discretion is better part of valour, and the Highlanders are going to try and go into square. They rolled, blimey, they roll a 3, so they do go into square, which means the cavalry are not able to charge home, and that's that. They can't fire, I don't think, because that's their response to the charge. So the cavalry just basically stop short. We'll do some shooting. We've got the young guard in the manor house complex. They're going to fire 2 dice down onto the Highlanders in front of them. So that is going to be a 4 to hit. Oh, 2 hits including a disorder. Highlanders save them though. Crikey, there's been some saving going on both sides, but they are disorder. And they can fire 2 shots out that way at the Highlands. Can they? Yeah, they can fire over they're above their own troops, so they can fire into the square beyond. They're in range, so we'll fire 2 shots that way, which also will be a 4. No, it'll only be 1 shot because they've only got fire factor of 3. So they've used 2 out the front, so they'll only have 1 out the rear. That's another 6. Ooh. And the square does not save. So they take a hit and they are disordered. That's quite pokey. Shame they didn't do that before the charge went in. The Marines of the Guard, they will fire a line volley at the Highlanders as well. It's 2 shots. I'm going to give the Highlanders cover because majority of them are behind some kind of hedge there. So it's a 5s to hit. Nothing at all. Obviously they haven't got their sea legs yet. The Guard battery here, whoops, sorry, the Guard battery here is going to fire at that inviting target that is a square. It's medium range, so 2 dice will be hitting on, well, it would be 3, but they're firing overhead, so it's a 4. Another disordering hit, saving on a 6 probably at that range. Yes, so it's another loss on the Highlanders. Artillery's done very little in this game up until the last couple of turns. Started to play its part at last. Alright, so that's all that. Moving across, we've got the Young Guard skirmishers there, little unit. It shook off its disorder because it's elite. We'll fire 2 shots into the Dutch-Belgians. They are obscured but they don't get cover, so that is a 5 to hit. It's 1 hit. They do get a reroll because they're sharpshooters. 5 to hit. It's 1 hit. They save on a 4. They save, so no effect. The voltigeurs down here in the wood, in the orchard, they have no longer shaken, but they are disordered. But they're going to fire at the front section of the building. Now there's no melee going on. It looks like we're in close range there. Yeah, we are. So that will be 4s to hit. 2 shots with a reroll. That's a disorder and 2 hits. The Dutch-Belgians were saving on a 2. They take a loss, and they're disordered. Moving across, we've got the 1 column here. Will fire. It looks like it's point blank range, so it's going to be a. Actually, it should have been 1 less. They still would have hit those skirmishers because it's an obscured target. So it would have been 4s. Would have been 5s to hit. Oh, I think I might have to re-roll that. Damn, because I think I rolled a 4 and a 6, didn't I? So it was that. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's re-roll the 1 miss because I didn't. They hit anyway. Okay, that seems fair. So I forgot that the guys in the built-up area would get an obscured protection. But on the re-roll that I took for the miss with the voltigeurs, they still hit anyway. So that 2 hits counts. So you see what I mean? I know what I mean. Okay, the 1 shot from the column will be hitting on a 3 down to a 4 because it's obscured target. Hits as well. Another hit on them, so that's another wound on the on those militia. They're beginning to wish they hadn't moved into the built-up area now. Taking losses all over the place. Finally, some might say, take the disorders off as I go. This line battalion here is going to volley straight forward into that area there. 3 shots. They are going to be hitting on 5s. Actually, no. Yes, 5s. Would be 4s, 5. No, 6s because it's an obscured target and they're disordered. Still get 1 hit. Can they put a loss on the? No, they saved that one. The 2 batteries of artillery will both fire into the this built-up area. They're both firing with 2 dice, so it's 4 dice in total. Overhead shooting, however, and into cover or into obscured is going to be 6s to hit. So it would be 4s. Overhead is 5s. Obscured target is 6s. 1 more hit. Now this time, because that's a medium range hit, that negates the cover, so they're saving on a 4, which they get. The line battalion here is going to fire a volley into the built-up area as well, So that's 3 shots needing 5s. That's 1 hit. The Dutch-Belgians again saving on a 2, and this time they save it. So they took 2 losses and they're disordered, but they're a large battalion, so they can take 4 losses, so that's not so bad as it could have been. But the most damage the French have done, that's for sure. Okay, moving over to here. The this disordered line will fire at the Dutch-Belgians. It's going to be 5s to hit because they are disordered. Nothing at all. This line here will fire onto those. They're not disordered this time, so it's 4s to hit. 2 hits this time. The Dutch are saving on 4s. They don't. So that's 2 losses, which means they are shaken. So, that will be a break test for them. No other shooting to come. No hand-to-hand this turn. So that'll be a break test for them at -1. They roll a 7, so they are fine. Well, in the sense that they don't rout. Still got 3 casualties. So that is the end of French turn 9? 8 probably. So we'll do the Allied turn. Right, fairly quick Dutch-Belgian Allied turn. The biggest decision really was for the commander. Did he want to rally one off this unit or off the chasseurs in the built-up area? In the end, he went for the chasseurs purely because they're holding the objective. So that line battalion out there in the open, actually we should just retire him, I think. Let's just retire him. We'll pull back. It's not disordered, so it's probably not a bad idea just to pull right back and try and buy some time. That's all we're trying to do, is buy time as the Allied command. So that's that. They're now back here. The cavalry are disordered but won't be at the end of the turn. The guns are just going to have to try and hope they can keep those infantry at bay, and the chasseurs obviously in the built-up in the wood over there. Nothing much happened here. Now over on this area, the Dutch-Belgian battalion there was within 6 inches of the French and has charged forward. So I think just been debating what to do with the French. I think they're better off evading. I think that's the better option for them. So the French will evade away. I think that makes sense. The problem is they are skirmish troops, so they will suffer in hand-to-hand, as we saw with the 95th. So better to keep alive and then keep some fire on those guys. And the reason why I did that with the Dutch-Belgians was I'm trying to stop flanks, troops being able to get into the flank of the built-up area. So that's the theory with this. Nothing much goes on here because that's square. Can't really do anything with the cavalry right in front of it. Over here on the flank, the general has moved over and rallied the 95th, so they are only on 1 and no longer shaken. The Highlanders are still disordered. Are they disordered? Yeah, they are disordered. And that was it. Nothing really moved over here. So we're going to start with the shooting. We've got the Highlander battalion will fire at the Marines, I think. It is 3 shots, no cover. It's going to be 5s to hit because they are disordered. Yes, just the one. It is a wound, so I think that may shake the because that is a small unit of Marines, so that may well shake them. I'll have to check that. Moving across the square, I think they only fire 1 dice at the cavalry. I think you can fire 1 out of each face, if I remember rightly. So they'll fire 1 into the cavalry and 1 into the Marines. Into the Marines is going to be a 5. It's a miss, and into the cavalry is also a 5. And it's also a miss. So there you go. The artillery here on the hill. There we go. Just about to see the Royal Horse Artillery. They will fire at the cavalry. 1 dice, because it's only a light gun. We'll be hitting on... Actually, it's 36s, isn't it? For light guns. I think I've been diddling myself. So that's 2 dice, actually, from there. So they will be hitting... And now, they could fire shrapnel. They are British. They're allowed to fire shrapnel, which gives them 3 dice, but hitting on 5s. So I think they'll do that. Well, forget about that. Should have fired just... well, one of them might have hit. The medium batteries, or the Dutch-Belgian batteries, will also fire at that. So it's 2 shots hitting on a 4. That's a disorder and another hit. So 2 hits in total. The cavalry will be saving on 6s. They do not save it, so they take 2 losses and are disordered. The infantry that charged, they can't. No, because they didn't actually charge into contact. So I think they can still fire. I'm not going to let them. Seems daft. Shouldn't be able to charge and fire. The guys in the big building here. No. So they'll fire 2 shots straight forward into the column in front of them. That will be 4s to hit. It's 1 hit. Column saves on a 3. So saves. No effect. Moving across. The disordered large unit will fire 2 shots into the column. Hitting on a... Oh, it's close range, isn't it? So hitting on a 4, because they are disordered. It's 1 hit. Column saves it, so it does save. And another 2 shots will go out the other side into the flank. No, they'll fire into the line in front of them, rather than the line that's sort of this way, if you see what I mean. They could do an enfilading shot there, but I think they're more worried about the unit. Actually, no, that's priority targets. They have to fire at that one. So that will be a 3. Both hit. 2 saves of that line. Both lost. So it's probably shaken, that line. No, unbelievably, it hasn't got any losses. It's been disordered, but hasn't taken any losses. So, yeah, that is that. I think that is it for them. The shaken unit of Dutch-Belgians here, they can't fire. Well, they could fire partially on there, or they could fire partially on there. Are they in range? That's a good point. No, that evens that problem up. So I'll say it's 2 dice on that line there. Obscured target. 5s to hit. Oh, and they're shaken. 6s to hit. No effect. The Dutch-Belgian artillery will fire 2 shots straight into the French line in front of them. Will be 4s to hit. 1 hit. 6 to save is not saved. And then the sharpshooters in the woods over here will fire at them. It's 2 shots. Are they in close range? They are. So 3s to hit. Oh, it's a disorder. Oh, they get a re-roll on the miss. So it's 2 hits and 2 losses. So that is shaken and 1 over. We'll do a break test for them. The 7 is fine. Ah, except they're disordered, so that comes to a 6, which is a retire. so they will have to fall back again. It's been falling back, falling back, falling back, falling back. So yeah, and the disorder comes off that unit, so we'll put it on that one because they are disordered after they fall back. Oh no, sorry, tell a lie, that disorder stays there because they were disordered in their turn. So I need another disorder marker on that one. I'll come back to that. And I think that is all the fire for the Allies. So we'll take their disorders off. That one can come off. The cavalry, put that on them. The guys in the built-up area can lose one of their disorders, and that loses that disorder, and the other Highlanders lose their disorder. So that is the end of turn 8, I want to say. I'm feeling like time is pretty much up for the French. They have fought their way. It's been a hard fight, maybe too hard for them. Maybe I should have given them a few more guard. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it as a win for the Allies. Dusk is falling, and so the French are going to have to pull back, lick their wounds, and try again another day. I think my problem was I tried. Say, my original plan with the French was to bring the young guard round this side and try and attack this side of the I'm pointing in the way you can't see. My original plan was the young guard were going to come round here, shield the Brits, and try and hit this side of the farm at the same time as the big regiments in the front hit the front and this lot hit the other side. The problem is the young guard got pulled across. Losing one of their battalions did not help, so that hasn't gone according to plan. The cavalry faffed around. I probably should have sent them straight away out into this open flank to deal with the Brits, at least slow them up, because what they could have done is what these boys did, in the fact they helped to slow down a much bigger force. Bear in mind there were 6 battalions in this one. 1, 2, 3, yeah, I think 5 or 6 battalions in this command coming across the river, and they've been held up by a small battalion of skirmishers, 1 Dutch-Belgian, a battery, and a cavalry unit. And really it was the cavalry combined with the terrain that really slowed up those French. Constant disorders, constant being pinned back meant that they just couldn't get going, and only really once managed to get something into the flank, by which time it really it was too late, too little too late. And the Dutch-Belgians in the farm, these chasseurs that had previously been in the front, really held their own very, very nicely indeed. And yeah, I think they did, for their first outing, Dutch-Belgians, the first time any of them been on the table, so they did remarkably well considering, and yeah, very successful outing for them. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, share and subscribe and do all that good stuff. I may well put this up on Christmas Eve just because it seems like a fun game to put up. So I wish you all the very best of the season, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. I hope you get a nice Christmas time. I hope you have a nice festive period and enjoy whatever time you have with your family and friends. And stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you again soon. This is Dom, signing out.